So we are going to learn how to start to use our Microbit microcontroller. Microbit is a very easy to use microcontroller that allows you to attach sensors and to be able to program those sensors to collect data or to control other objects. So our first step is to figure out how to program it. So fortunately, Microbit has a programming interface that is on the web, so you can open up a web browser and you can go to the website called makecode.microbit.org, and it will take you to the initial home screen, where if you've got other projects, they'll show up here, and there's lots of tutorials and it'll teach you how to do games, things like that. But we're going to create a new project, and I'm going to call my first project, I'm going to call it First. And so I'm going to put first down here in my title. And the reason why is it's going to be our very first program. And when you open up your window, the first thing that you see will be 3 columns. You'll see the first column over here is the simulation. So this is going to show you what your program is going to look like as it's running on the Microbit. The second column are your blocks. So these are the code blocks that you have to be able to program your Microbit. So if you click on one, you'll see that it opens up another column with lots of different commands. And so we have a series of these, and we'll be using these as we go through and create our greenhouse. And so you can do lots of different components with the Microbit, and we'll slowly go through each one of these. And you can also add new blocks to that, which you will also learn how to do. But today what we're going to do is we're going to focus primarily on the basic block. The basic block basically is going to allow us to manipulate the little LEDs that are on the Microbit. So you can kind of think of these LEDs as a screen, and they can display information, and they can let you know if something is happening and let you know if your program is running correctly. So in the last column you have 2 block chunks that are automatically put into your programming window. You have an on start and you have a forever block. The on start means that anything that you put in the middle of that block will happen when the program starts, but it won't keep running. The forever block means that the program is going to run continuously. It's going to keep going over and over. Think of it as a loop, and it's a loop that will go forever. So what we want to do first is let's just learn how the on start block works. So when I click on my basic, I get these series of blocks, and so I'm going to put show string. Basically that means show me some text. And so I'm going to type into my box, say hi with a few exclamation marks, and notice it's kind of brown with a little yellow around it because I clicked on it, so that means it's highlighted and it's active block. So I'm going to move it, and notice when I drag it over, the on start block has a yellow, and notice they fit together just like a puzzle piece. So if you use Scratch, this is very similar to Scratch. And look over here in our simulation, and now it says on start the program, it says hi, but notice it stops. But let's imagine that I wanted to have something that ran forever. So again, I can go back to my basic. I'm going to say, I'm going to put an icon in here. So I really like what I'm doing, so I'm going to show my icon of heart. And maybe I really want to do something else. Let's say I want to show another icon, and I want it to be a happy face. And let's do one more. I'm going to show another icon, and I want it to be, how about Pac-Man Ghost. And now when my program runs, and it will automatically run in our simulation, notice it's going to keep running through our heart, smiley face, Pac-Man, just over and over and over again. You'll be able to do that forever. And if you click the slow-mo icon, which is a snail, you'll see in your programming window that the blocks light up. And what will be nice about that later is that if you write a program and it doesn't work, you can run it, and you might see where your program is getting stuck because it will stop running. Okay. But I also can show specific LEDs if I wanted to. So let's say that I wanted to show that if something happened, my temperature was too hot and I just wanted to make it H. You can just highlight the LEDs that you want to show, and then they will show up on our little simulation. So there's my heart, there's my smiley face, Pac-Man, H. Now it's going to keep repeating that. All right, but if these were text, you might want to slow it down. So the other commands that you have access to is you can say, hey, I want to pause for a little bit. So I want to make these guys stay on my screen a little bit longer, so I can just drag my little pause blocks, say, in between each one of these, and that's going to cause things to slow down. And computers think in terms of milliseconds, right, which is 1,000th of a second. So this is a pause of 100 milliseconds. So if you want to change it for a second, you have to click that little drop-down menu, and you can change it to a second, and that will allow it to stay longer on the screen. So notice I've changed it, and let's see what happens over here. Here we are. There's my high. That's on the start. So I'm going to show my icon. I'm going to pause for a second. Next icon, pause for a second. And then I'm going to get to my H, and notice it quickly jumped because I didn't put a pause down here. So that is our first program. And now that we've saved it, there we've got our first, now we need to save it. And so I've labeled it as first. So if you just click the save icon down here in the bottom left, it'll download it. And what you'll need to do is go find where it saved it. Usually it saves it in your downloads folder on your computer. And right there it is. Notice it puts the word microbit in front of the name that you saved it as. This is my second time saving it, as every time that you saved a file, it will put a number after it so you know which one is the latest one. Right, you can see where I was working earlier and creating a timer, and I saved it 10 times. So I saved it. So I have 10 files. So I'm going to grab my top one because that's the latest one, and I am going to drag it down over onto my file. But I have forgotten one critical feature. Right. So now that we're ready to transfer our file, we know where it is. Let's plug in our microbit. So we're going to take our microbit, grab our USB cable, and you're going to plug it in like a phone. And notice is that these guys are designed to be plugged in one way. So if it doesn't go in one way, just flip it around. It'll go right in. And you know you've got it plugged in right, and it's getting power because you have a light that comes on. And you should have the other end plugged into your computer. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to take this file and I'm going to drag it to my microbit icon that pops up, and it may pop up a whole window. I tend to just drag it within this one window here. So I'm going to take my file, I'm going to drag it over to my icon that says microbit, and it's going to transfer it. Right. There it goes. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my program, and there's my heart, there's my smiley face, there's my Pac-Man, there's my H, and it quickly jumps back to my heart, and it's going to keep repeating this running program forever. You have now created your first program for a microbit.